I know. I wasn't expecting this either. Let me explain. So this game, Stellar Blade, was announced years ago as Project Eve, the first AAA game out of South Korea known for mainly making live service and mobile games. I saw it and thought, yeah, good for them, and stopped caring. Then whenever it happened, another trailer showed up and it was now a PlayStation exclusive as Sony decided to back the project. I thought, cool, still don't care. It looked good, but I didn't see enough gameplay, and when actual press started coming out about it, more people were interested in talking about Eve's features rather than the game's. Until they released a demo shortly before the game came out, and since I knew nothing, I decided to play it to give the game a chance. I only played it for about an hour, but I knew instantly, this game was made for me. Specifically, for me. But this made me sad, cause like I expressed last time, I don't have a lot of free time to play games these days that aren't for videos. I didn't want to wait and get spoiled, I wanted to beat this game immediately. So yes, I decided to make this the next game for the video series you're watching right now, with my goal being to redeem myself for Hollow Knight, and this time, actually get the Platinum Trophy. And I would usually break down what that entails, but spoilers, you don't have to do much. So the game starts with our character Eve being shot down onto Earth with a bunch of other members of the 7th Airborne Squadron, like her friend? Mentor? Rival? This other woman named Taki. They're here to save Earth from the Natiba, monsters that appeared from nowhere and wiped out humanity. In no time, a Natiba kills Taki, and Eve is rescued by a guy named Adam. Yes, I know, I'll talk about it in a second. Adam agrees to show Eve to an Alpha Natiba, a powerful Natiba, if she helps him get something called a hypercell. She gets it, finds the Alpha Natiba, killing it, and she rescues Lily, another Airborne Squad member from the 5th unit. Afterward, with no other clues to go on, Adam takes the girls to Zion, the last bastion of humanity, where they meet the leader, Orkle, the coolest looking character. Learn the Airborne Squad's goal is to kill the Elder Natiba, the big boss of them, and by gathering 4 cores from Alpha Natibas, they can make a thing that can just track it. Okay. And Orkle can tell where Alpha Natibas are, but to do so, he needs more power, which come from the hypercells that not only power him and Zion, but keep a large group of human survivors alive in stasis. So that's the goal, get hypercells so Orkle can find the Alphas so we can find the Elder. But uh-oh, this mission isn't as simple as it seems. Okay, so look, usually I describe the story along with my gameplay, but I'm gonna do this different because I want to talk about the story first, because I didn't really like it. It's not bad, it's just alright. First, the characters. I'm not going to talk about any of the side characters. I think all of them are either boring or wasted potential. The best example is Kaya, who runs one of the shops in Zion called Sister's Junk, and she constantly talks about how her sister is just missing. Definitely not dead, she's missing. So in a side quest, you find her sister's corpse, and when you tell her, she's like, oh yeah, I kinda knew. That sucks. And you get an outfit with no pants. How anticlimactic. Like, my own crackpot theory, since this was a post-apocalyptic hellscape, was she was so in denial that I would tell her sister was dead, and she would then, I don't know, have her corpse at the shop, or she would pretend to be her sister, you know, something to make her interesting. Every other character is like that. Their story just kinda ends. It's technically a resolution, but it's not gratifying in any way. And for the rest of Zion, who you meet through side quests, none of them really hit the mark either. Most of the quests are go here, get an item, or kill a certain number of enemies, and the only cool quests have no resolution. I was really excited for this one I got that starts with a little girl saying she has a message for Eve from a stranger to go to the flooded district. When you do, you drain all the flooding and find an entire room of corpses. A massacre took place here, and that district was only flooded to cover up this crime. That's awesome. And when you turn in the quest, it's the little girl again, and when you ask her who the guy was that sent her, she doesn't know, but they send another message stating they will meet Eve again. Now, I was hyped for this. A murder mystery with a killer who's watching us all the time? That sounds awesome. That's the end of the quest. It is never brought up again. The only Zion character I liked was Roxanne, the information dealer, mainly because I like her chemistry with Eve, with her flirting and teasing her, annoying Eve. It's the most fun dialogue in the entire game.
I had a good time. I wonder, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I can see these two. Also, her music is a fucking banger. Oh, whoa. Alright, that's kind of funky. I like it. And then you got your pals, like Lily, she's there. She clearly has a backstory and clearly had a whole thing going on before Eve showed up. But again, we barely get any of it. Instead, we get standard video game conversations over a communicator while you play the game. And Lily was the most fun to hear as she actually has a personality.
Now that's a high-performance body. Jealous?
I hope we're not missing any cans.
Sorry for the wait. So, shall we head out?
Too late, we're already here.
Unlike Adam, I think what they're going for is he's an everyman, you know, your average human male, to get you to more relate to him, I guess. It didn't work on me, as most of the time he was just nothing. He wasn't annoying or fun to listen to or informative on lore bits, he was just boring. There's only one moment in this game I actually remember I liked his dialogue.
Eve, whatever you do, don't look down. Aw, come on.
Oh wait, did he actually respond to me looking down? That's cool. And then I guess it's not really a spoiler at this point, because you probably guessed since the two leads are named Adam and Eve, that Adam might have more to do with the story. Okay, so here's how I gather the story of Stellar Blade happened. So, a long time ago there was a war. It was a bad war, and after that, humanity being humanity wanted to make something to help advance us, so a scientist named Raphael Marx invented Mothersphere, a super intelligent AI to help advance humanity. And of course, like any AI in fiction, it thought these humans kinda suck, I should make a new human, and then the androidos were born, robots with the thoughts and emotions of humans. But the two kinds of humans couldn't coexist, which led to the final war, where humanity was nearly wiped out, so after going into hiding, the humans, led by Raphael Marx, decided to advance evolution just a smidge to beat the robots. That can only end in good. And it super doesn't, as this experimentation on themselves is what turns them into the Natibas. And I mean, it kinda works, they almost kill all the robots, and then Mothersphere is like, ooh, I kinda fucked up, huh? But she doesn't want anyone to know that she fucked up, so she takes some survivors, the android kind, into space, and just casually end civilization to make sure Natibas can't follow them to space. But Mothersphere still wants Earth for her new shiny humans, so she starts the Eve Protocol, and begins making the airborne squad, brainwashing them into thinking only Natibas are on Earth, they are the ones that wiped out humanity, and to reclaim Earth they must kill the Elder Natiba. And that's where our girl comes in, who, yes, Eve Protocol, she's Eve, can you even call this fate? So where does Adam come in? Well, Adam is Raphael Marx. Yes, that's him. He invented Mothersphere and Natiba, and also he's the Elder Natiba. He's everything. He's like a Swiss Army knife of important characters. And he too has been orchestrating things behind the scenes, as Adam knew Mothersphere, like with humans, would just make better androidos someday. Cause she's a crazy AI whose only purpose is to progress humanity, which means she would ditch the old ones, make new ones, and it would endlessly repeat after she kills all the Natibas. So Adam, after researching for years, figured the only way to save everyone was to do the fusion dance. Yes, to somehow fuse Natibas and robots in perfect harmony. This did not go well, as all the first fusions simply created more hostile and powerful Natibas, which became the alphas that were hunting. The first one being Oracle, from Zion. He is the first fusion between human and Natiba, and seeing as he has no lower half, he was not a good one. So Adam figures the only way to make a perfect fusion is to use him, and some other perfect androidos that he could fuse with. And luckily for him, one with good fusion-bearing hips just landed on his doorstep. Yes, finally we come to Eve, the main character, who you've probably gathered from that synopsis, is mostly a pawn in a greater scheme. Eve as a character is fine, I guess. You'd think despite how much people obsessed over her fat ass with PH, that maybe she would be like some of those other over-sexualized characters in games, maybe not the character, but the game would lean into it, be very tongue-in-cheek, but no. I mean, in the game, Eve's assets are never really brought up by anybody. Some people say she's pretty, but no one is like, damn, she got all that gas. The only sexualization comes from the nanosuits, the various costumes you can collect, which range from actual cool clothes, bikinis, lingerie, and miscellaneous. The game itself does not really draw attention to her, all of it comes from the player. And look, to be honest, I don't care about all that stuff anyway, why the director did it, she's based on a real person, I don't care. I mean, yeah, I jerked off to her every single time I played this game, but that means nothing to me. I'm a degenerate, it would have happened either way. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's just a pretty well-made game, you know, there's really not much I can say to it. I've definitely jerked off to Eve a bunch of times, probably lost buckets of cum to her. That's working, definitely as intended, and I'd say in that aspect it's a 10 out of 10. So what happens when you get past those looks? How's her personality? Well, she's not boring, she does have one. She's very serious and really only ever talks about completing her mission. We don't really learn about any weird quirks she has. Well, she hates swimming, that's about all we get. At least this does make the few times she does get noticeably flustered or annoyed or upset interesting. That's why I like her with Roxanne, because she doesn't show much emotion, so these moments are nice. But not enough to get me to go, yeah, she was a good main character to follow. Might as well just make her a creative character, because Eve could have any personality and the story would not change, honestly. Okay, so that was a lot of story stuff, but I wanted to get it out of the way so I can focus on the gameplay and my journey to beat the game. So let's rewind a bit. After Adam rescues Eve, we start the first section called IDOS 7. Alright, the gameplay. This was the thing that sold me on this game. It's fucking weird. I've played nothing like it, in a good way. It's a weird mix between slower Souls gameplay and fast-paced action RPGs. The enemies have very obvious and slow startup attacks, but Eve goes apeshit. She's fast, dodges everything, charges, strikes fast, has big over-the-top anime moves. It feels like you're playing a Final Fantasy character in a Souls game. But the best mechanic is the parry system. I fucking love parry systems in games. If your game does not have a parry system, it's garbage. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Enemies have these pips above them that go away when you parry an attack, and when all of them deplete, you get a big animation that does a lot of damage. Blocking only lessens the damage you take, you still lose health, but parrying an attack makes you don't take any damage. So you gotta master parries, and I loved that. Early on you can get by without them, but later, you gotta know. Anyway, this IDOS 7 type area, let's call it the Souls area. It's a pretty linear level where you just have to get to your destination while fighting enemies, creating shortcuts, and resting at camps to restore your health and supplies. One thing that's not like a Souls game though is, well, there's no consequences for dying in this game. In Souls-likes, death sucks because you lose your souls, your blood, or whatever, because that acts as everything, your EXP, your currency for shopping, so losing it really sucks, which incentivizes you to get good. Here you die, you just go back to the last save point, or even checkpoint. Okay. So yeah, I do wish there was some downside to dying, like losing money or something, because this just had me in the early game mash the attack button and not think, because who cares if I died. Another thing you do is platform, which is fine. It's not bad, but definitely not the greatest. Got pretty janky sometimes. So after going around soulsing it up, we meet the first boss, who I'm convinced is just a vagina with teeth. Then after getting that hypercell, you fight a horsey. Then after that, you fight the first alpha, meet Lily, go to Zion, I told you all this before. After that is when the game really confused me, because now we have to get to the next hypercell, so I thought, oh, okay, another area like Ada 7. Nope, because the next area is the Wasteland, which is an open area map. What the fudge? So first we're playing a Souls game, now it's an actual Final Fantasy game exploring a map with side quests and enemies and secret bosses. This is a different game. I was shook to my core, gamers. Especially since there is actually a lot to explore and collect here, it's not empty. I spent hours here. I mean, it does get boring when you get most of everything, but luckily they do have fast travel stations in the form of payphones. What areas does this take place in? And in these open world sections, if you run for a little bit, Eve starts running faster with a little auto dash. Glad they thought of that. Personally would have preferred a vehicle or something, like the hover bike we see later to navigate, but I guess running faster is fine. After I explored everything, I met this guardian who has to test me, which is actually a test for the parry, where you can't really beat her with regular attacks, only by parrying and making her vulnerable can you actually beat her. I love this. This is some good game design here. Making an enemy that makes you use the main game mechanic and teach you how to get better with it. Not a lot of games do this, trust me. So after that you enter Altis Lavar, where the hypercell is, and where you get most of that Raphael Marx lore. And once again, I came. Not from Eve, but from the gameplay. Now before this, I had just received a gun that Eve is definitely blowing out her back using. Why is she turning her body slightly towards me? That does not look comfortable. You only have your gun in this dank area where you have Naytibas that are literally in body bags, they carry corpses, ending with a boss fight with this weird Naytiba human fusion that shoots at you with bodies. It was so good! By this point, I was feeling it. I was loving this game. The mixes in gameplay, the collecting, the cheeks, the parrying, these are all things I love in video games. Yeah, the story is... yeah, but gameplay-wise, this was shaping up to be one of my favorite games ever. And then I played the rest of it. Because after that awesome horror-like section, we go through another linear Souls-esque section, which is just a giant sewer level. You can't convince me otherwise. Ending in a boss fight with Taki. Yes, the same one that died at the beginning was turned into an Alpha Naytiba. By this point, we don't know about Adam's fusion dance stuff, so this is a big twist, I guess, that she turned into a Naytiba. And it was supposed to be a sad moment for Eve having to kill her... friend? Lover? Again, but it was ruined by me.
A favor to ask of you.
I'm sorry, it's just like the whole, oh, I'm dying, I need to give you my last words, like they're really, she's like, I'm dying, I'm still dying. After that, some exposition and more side quests, we go to the next open area, a desert. Yeah, so we go from a vertical brown wasteland area to a flat brown desert area. Awesome. By this point, I was hopeful the next location would be a different, you know, like a jungle or something, but that was quickly dashed as having to go into another area called Abyss Lavar, and I was hoping for something different, but it was again a similar area where we can only use our gun, with the exact same enemies, no new ones, and the exact same boss at the end. Uh-oh. It's here I should mention Raven, another character who was part of a previous Airborne squad, and has been telling us all these revelations about Naytibas being humans and Mother Sphere maybe being a dick through these logs we've been finding, and it's by this point she tells us, Naytiba are people!
Some, led by Raphael Marx, waited here at this facility for an opportunity to strike back. Evolved in order to gain the strength to face the androids. That's what they've become. Monsters. The monsters that we're fighting are the Naytibas.
Wait. I was half paying attention. So the Naytibas are... That's not really a twist though. So after this you think, well, there are 4 Alpha Naytibas. We so far had a Soul section, an Alpha, an open area, then another Souls area, then another open area. So you'd think with 2 Alphas left we would do this at least one more time. Nope. as the next area is the last one. They even give you the point of no return message. So after doing most of the side quests, I decided to head to the last area of the game, Spire 4, which is a space elevator, because the last alpha is in space, which is pretty cool. On the way there, Adam was like, Zion called me, I gotta go, so it's just Eve and Lily. I will say this is my favorite level in the game, mainly because of the many changing environments. We get snowy wilderness, an abandoned military facility, to a space station, to eventually go into space itself. The bosses are cool too, one who constantly regenerates his health bar, one where your gun is rendered useless, and the last one leading to one of the coolest shots and moments in the game, where we see that Alpha Natiba has evolved to basically become the space station, and we use a big fuck you laser to kill it. I wish there were more moments like that in the game. And then some mech suit from seemingly nowhere comes to save Eve, who was falling to Earth. And then the real endgame begins, as when we return, we can't contact Adam, so we go back and see Zion is being attacked by the Alpha Natiba that killed Taki at the beginning of the game. And look, I will say, this game is not very hard. Yeah, I died sometimes, but once you recognize patterns and stuff, it's pretty simple. Especially doing side quests, which gives you so much EXP, you level up so fast early on, it's kind of a joke. So this was the first boss that genuinely had me try, as before I was so overpowered from side quests and most bosses didn't last long. But this one, you actually had to dodge and parry properly, and they even randomly decided to introduce instant death moves. There are only 2 more bosses left in the game, and now they introduce instant death moves? What? Anyway, we kill it and see the Natiba is Raven all along. Wow, another twist that kind of falls flat. So we save Zion, we find out Oracle's an alpha, he gives us his core so we can find the Elder. But where's Adam? Well, Lily uses science to track the hover bike he used, and he is actually near where the Elder Natiba is. Suspicious. Okay, to be fair, at least Eve is not an idiot, and she even admits she figured out Adam at some point. Didn't really say when, but she has figured it out. Anyway, we go to the final battle, but before that, we have to beat Raven, and despite Lily now using that mech suit that saved us, Eve is like, no, let's not use a super powerful mech suit. I'll settle this with fisticuffs. And I make jokes, but this Raven boss fight? Yeah, this is peak Stellar Blade. She's fast, giving not nearly enough time as most other bosses to prepare for her attacks, shown by how she teleports around, kinda like us. She does a lot of damage and deals consecutive attacks, making blocking useless, and the only way to win is to memorize her barrage of attacks and parry them with precise timing. Not to mention, she doesn't give you a lot of time to attack, you only get 2 or 3 hits in before you need to back off. And then in the second half, she makes your skills useless by countering them while being more aggressive. And did I mention the music? If I rated the game based on this boss fight, it'd be a 10 out of 10. This is the best of this game, which sucks that it shows up at the end, but proves my theory, once again, that boss fights against a character that is essentially the same as you is always the best. Like Nightmare Grim and Hollow Knight, this boss was my favorite. The right amount of challenge and allowing you to retry right away made it addicting and super satisfying when you beat her. After that, instead of killing her, Eve just mutilates Raven instead and is like, watch me kill your king, girl, which is kind of fucked up, but she's hot, so it's okay. Then we meet Adam, all that stuff happens I talked about in the story, and you get a choice. Fuse with Adam, creating the perfect being, or reject it and fulfill our mission of killing the Elder. Now, there has only been one moment besides this where the game actually gives you a choice. It was meaningless, but now this one actually determines your ending, of which there are 3. You may notice, dear viewer, that there are 2 choices, despite there being 3 endings. We'll get to that later. Anyway, I decided to reject Adam's offer because I didn't really like him and I wanted to kill him, and I've been making a lot of Souls references, but look, the Elder is just a Souls boss, a big angelic yet somehow demonic creature in a white void that moves slowly until it does a sudden attack. This is a Souls. And honestly, he wasn't as hard as Raven, so I beat him and the Natibas are dead. This first ending sees Eve and Lily escape and greeted by Mother Sphere, who takes the form of a lolly because I can't escape this shit despite not being made in Japan, and the 2 return to the colony in space where, I'm gonna be honest, I don't get what we're looking at. I assume it's bad. Oh, is the colony destroyed or something? Is that what it's not supposed to look like? Is this a twist? Is it... What am I looking at? I'm not... Did the game ever show me what the colony looks like? Oh, it's over. Okay. So that was my first playthrough of Stellar Blade. I found it to be good. Despite some repetition near the end and lackluster story, I found the game to be great fun, thanks to its mechanics and jiggle physics distracting me from its other flaws. Good thing there was no reason for me to play the game 2 more times when that honeymoon phase was over and ruin any goodwill I had towards it, so throughout me describing the game you probably started thinking this was some kind of professional review or something. No. It's about my journey to get the Platinum Trophy, and in order to do that I have to see all 3 endings of the game, as each of them are tied to a trophy. Easy, you may think. Just save it for the point of no return and reload. Oh, if it was that simple. You see, Stellar Blade for some reason only lets you have one save file per PSN account. It autosaves during certain bits, there's no way to turn that off, so the only way to actually see every ending in one playthrough is to do some shenanigans by saving your data to the cloud, then disconnecting from the internet, and then beating it, downloading it again. That all seemed pretty dumb that I have to do any of that to have a semblance of save datas. And like I said, I like the game, so I decided to play through it legitimately 2 more times. My second time would be on the unlocked hard mode on New Game Plus, which I did not record myself doing, except for the ending bits. You might think, wow Bri, that's stupid. What if a cool or interesting moment happened you wanted to show us? Nothing like that happened. Pretty much what I expected happened. Where it was the same game, just enemies took more hits and I took more damage. A standard hard mode. Should have been available from the beginning in my opinion. The only thing is that parrying was mandatory here, and I discovered how OP the shotgun was for damage. It's kind of stupid. During this playthrough, I cleaned up a lot of the other trophies, which meant getting the rest of the collectibles, being these cans. Throughout the game, you collect cans, which I love, especially because Eve does a dumb pose with the generic victory music playing in the background. 10 out of 10 game. Depending on how many you get, you unlock various upgrades, ending with getting all of them to get a lingerie outfit. I also, for reals this time, did every side quest available in the game, including the fishing side quest, which as far as fishing mechanics go, is not great. The pressure sensor with the PS5 controller was serviceable at best. Apparently you can turn that off in the options, which I knew that months ago, and you do all that for a lingerie outfit. Hey, say what you will about the developers, they know a proper reward for their player base. Now once again, all this was pretty easy. The game, despite being on hard mode now, was not all that hard to either beat or get any of the trophies. A lot of the rest of the trophies just revolved around beating enemies with certain skills or getting the max upgrades for Eve. So yeah, basically it was the same game but slightly harder, but at the same time I was so upgraded from my first playthrough that it was still no problem. So since I was simply playing a game again I just played a day ago, I started to notice some annoyances. The first was the pacing of fights with enemies. So like I said, the enemies telegraph their attacks almost comically so. But during hard mode where I had to react as best as I can, I noticed that this was tripping me up more than I think it should have. When I noticed the slightest twitch, I would go to parry only to be 5 seconds early. You can even see it in my first playthrough. I noticed an enemy is going to attack, and I instinctively tap the parry/block button, thinking the attack is coming, but I'm off by like 10 seconds. And I feel this happened because Eve herself is so fast and agile that I expect the enemies to be the same. The reason Souls enemies are like that is because your only defense is to block or to do a slow roll with iframes. You're almost as slow as your opponents, but typically in games where enemies are fast, you have the speed to match. Stellar Blade does try something different by mixing the two, and I'm sure most people probably didn't even care or notice this feature, but on hard, I noticed more than usual, because throughout the whole first playthrough, which was required to unlock this difficulty, I was taught to learn to parry, which didn't matter much on normal, but now on this difficulty, where even the weakest enemy could possibly kill me in 2 hits, I was more on edge and attentive to my opponents. But the stress and tension of being a few hits away did not mesh with the slow movements of the enemies, as I, in a way, being so prepared, is what actually killed me most of the time, because I tapped the parry button constantly so much it turned into a block, which killed me because I was a bit off. The best example of this are these counter moves Eve can do, where the enemy can glow blue and you push the stick forward and attack to counter, or they glow purple and you push back and attack to counter. You'd think you would do that when you would see the glow, right? No, instead you see the glow, you wait a second, then time slows down for a bit, and Eve's sword glows, and that's when you do it. This felt off to me from the start, but it wasn't until my hard playthrough I realized it's because the way they timed it was so awkward compared to any other game that has a counter system. Now I get why it's like this. I'm sure people who don't react very well liked the fact that there was so much time to perform a response, and this is not me being like, oh, I'm such a god gamer, I react better than a YouTuber. I just wish that on harder difficulties they got rid of these tells like other games have done in the past, just to really hammer home that on harder difficulties you gotta utilize all the mechanics perfectly to succeed. Because trust me, on New Game Plus, even after complaining about all of that, it was still pretty easy. Even Raven was easier. I don't know if it was a glitch or because I used the fully upgraded versions of the skills so they have different animations, but she didn't counter them like on normal mode, so even she was easier. The hardest thing was the fishing minigame, because PlayStation can't design a fucking controller right. Let's get to the ending. So how do you get those other 2 endings with 1 choice left? Well, after beating a side quest or getting some codex lore, you see a meter in the top right fill up. I don't think the game ever acknowledges it, or if it has an official name, but it's basically a Lily affection meter, I guess. You have to fill this meter up to 100% before the point of no return to get the special ending, which is what I went for. I also got it on my first playthrough because I was doing side quests anyways, but I didn't mention it because it didn't matter with the choice I made. So with the meter filled up, before heading to Spire 4, Lily asks if you can visit Eidos 9, a special area that is pretty linear with some hidden areas, but is only necessary if you're planning on doing everything or getting the special ending. What you actually do here is pretty boring, just taking down anti-air Naytibas so Adam can fly in. Then at a greenhouse, Lily shows us her fellow airborne squad member, Iberis, who died at some point, they don't specify when, and Lily takes her memory stick. Iberis was also a genius hacker. That is important, and they make sure you realize she is a genius hacker. After that, the game plays out normally until the choice. Now, the one I did the first time does not matter if you did the Eidos 9 stuff, it's the same no matter what you do, but fusing with Adam does have a difference. As after you become Angel Eve, did I mention the Zion citizens call Eve Angel? This game is not subtle, but now due to technological mumbo-jumbo, the disappearance of the Elder Naytiba and the appearance of Majin Eve makes the robot Lily Zin go haywire. Yes, you thought they finally gave Lily something to do with that, but nope, it's just another final boss. A pretty fun one, honestly, kinda cool. Would probably not have been as fun if not on hard mode, which you better have patience, because Jesus, this guy take no damage. Anyway, if you did that Eidos 9 stuff, Lily, who is trapped in the robot, uses Iberis' memory stick to hack the robot and free herself, allowing Eve to go full Naytiba on its ass, destroying it. And now a new age begins, with Eve and Lily exiting the cave and being met by Mother Lolly again, who we learn here is one of those villains that tries to act like she actually predicted everything, cause she's like, wow Eve, I didn't expect you to fuse with Adam, but I also super did. And she sends a bunch of other airborne squads to kill Eve, and you do one of those cool end of the game, fight off a horde of enemies until the credits roll. It's a thing, trust me. Then a post-game cutscene sees Lily give unlimited power to Zion, while Eve is now the literal guardian angel of the new type of humans. End. So what do you get for beating the game on hard mode? Nothing. Well, do you get anything for getting this obvious true ending to the game? You get a trophy. Cool. Oh, and Angel Eve is now on the title screen. Neat. Well, that sucked. The lack of rewards, I mean. Like, in a game all about costumes, I assume that after beating on hard, you would get Eve's angel appearance as a costume, or something, you know? After you beat the game the first time, you get Raven's costume, so maybe get something like, I don't know, Eve dresses up like Taki or Lily, or something to make hard mode feel like it's more for something than just bragging rights. If not, they just make it available at the start. So now all I had to do was beat the game one more time to get the last ending, and since I was starting to get fatigued playing this, and no additional anything was unlocked, I decided to play on New Game Plus on easy, so I could just breeze through the game. It's here I realized there's actually not much to this game if you don't do the side content. Like, yeah, I was on New Game Plus, so I had max everything and it was on the easiest difficulty, but I mean the open world sections, if you're not doing side quests, there's no reason to explore them. Maybe for the collectibles, but when just doing the main storyline, beelining it to the end, I beat the game in like 4 hours. Anyway, I make it to the end and I guess I get the bad ending. You fuse with Adam again, fight the robot, but this time, because Lily doesn't have Iberis' stick, the robot short circuits with her inside, killing her. She even says in her last words, wow, if only you did the side quests, bitch. Eve then carries out Lily's mutilated corpse, again kinda fucked up Eve, and finally I got the Platinum Trophy after 3 playthroughs and over 40 hours of gameplay. Now this one's kinda the same, with Mom Daughter being like all according to cake, and Eve fights all the robots into the credits, but no after credits scene this time here, just her journey continues, I guess insinuating Eve survived somehow. So ultimately, Stellar Blade to me was a good game. I think if you own a PS5, you should play it. It's not a must-own PlayStation exclusive like God of War or Spider-Man, which aren't exclusive anymore, but I do think it was a fun game when playing casually. 100% is definitely not worth it, and should only be done if you're like me and you genuinely enjoyed the combat and ass this game had to offer. And while I'm not excited specifically for a Stellar Blade 2, I am definitely excited for whatever weird cheesecake-filled game they come up with next. And if you want to watch me beat that cheesecake-filled game, then head on over to my Twitch channel where you can watch me complete these games live, weekday nights. But if you don't have time to catch me live, then head on over to my Stream Archive channel where you can watch my full playthrough of Stellar Blade along with many other games. Looking forward to whatever Shift Up does next. Like, comment, subscribe.
It's a rap like some bandages, the winner is unanimous. I'm quicker than the flashes from the lights on the cameras. Oh, you the best? What a big cap. I can take you standing on my backpack. Don't listen to the chatter or any of the commotion. Where your life go or your boy got it stolen. Hit harder than a rock and I watch you get eroded. I am the one that's been destined, I've been chosen.